Featuring Alfred Webre, Free Range with Gail of Gaia's own Gail of Gaia, Laura Eisenhower, and Patty Greer. Please enjoy the program.
Okay, everyone. Well, we're going live with this month's News Evolution. We're waiting for Laura Eisenhower and Patty Greer, who had stated they would be here along with a guest. And Patty had sent this image here, which we're seeing now. So I'm going to see if I can arouse them, and I'm wondering what's keeping them. And so, okay, here we go. Yeah, so we've started with today's program. Okay. Okay, so I'm moving forward, and I think that what we'll do, this is amazing because there's actually a great deal of interest among the participants to be here in this program, and none of them have shut up. So what I'm going to do is to read from a chapter in our forthcoming novel. People may or may not know, but we competed this year in NaNoWriMo, which is the National Novel Writing Month, in which 300,000 people, some people say as many as 800,000, competed globally in writing a 50,000 word novel from November 1st to November 30th in a month. And I had never really written a novel in my life. I heard about this competition in late October, just a few days before the start of the novel writing competition on November 1st, and said, well, I'll start it. And lo and behold, I finished my 50,000 word novel on November 12th, and today is November 15th. And it's called the Chronography Challenge. So what we'll do is we will wait for the rest of the panel to show here. By exploring this chapter in the Chronography Challenge. Here we go. Timeline, year 2045, positive timeline. The 23rd anniversary of publication of the Chronography book in 2022. Sophie Mako reporting on location in southwestern United States of America. Sophie, it is 2045. This is 23 years after the publication of the Chronography book in that key tumultuous year of 2022. My name is Sophia Mako. I'm a journalist. I first broke the stories about the Chronography book in 2022. And we are now on a post-Chronography timeline triggered by that Chronography book taking you on a worldwide tour to each region in this new earth. And share with you what the post-Chronography era is like. Those of you who have read the Chronography book may recall that US chrononaut Alexander Ewing, as a child, would teleport from 1971, this was one of his duties, to a DARPA forward time base in 2045. And there he would gather time scrolls, which he interpreted as messages from the future to help the past get to the future successfully. Well, in fact, that in fact happened. And the past, in fact, was able to get to the future successfully. And now we have a successful new Earth future on Earth at 2045. You may recall that US chrononaut Alexander Ewing's initial reports, when he surfaced after the turn of the 21st century in journalistic reports, including those of Sophia Arni, were that people in 2045 were very tall. There weren't many people, there weren't many houses. This was in an area of the southwest of the US. Teleports or teleportation was built into the walls of every house, and people got around through self-transportation, and that you teleported from house to house, and teleporters existed as the major capitals, and also that people around the 2045 forward time base recognized him as being Alexander Ewing. I, Sophia Mako, I'm a journalist that followed the publication of the Chronography books step by step, and the publication of Alexander Ewing's whistleblowing and his books. Since the turn of the century, step by step, I want to take you now on an around the world journey of how things are and what happened in the intervening period. Let's start with the year 2022, the year of the publication of the Chronography book. Fundamentally, that was the year when the two timelines started visibly separating on the time-space hologram that we know as Earth. The two timelines reached critical mass and separated as Earth timeline 0. The base timeline we would know as Earth time. This is the timeline that existed in this period of history, starting with the discovery of the universes by the Sumerian astronomers in 3500 BC, the discovery of the multiverse about 1895 by William James, and following through to the publication of the book Exopolitics by Sophia Arni. Exopolitics on Earth, once again, that Earth exists in a highly populated and organized universe. Exopolitics' initial publication took place as a free online ebook in the year 2000. And then in 2005, the Exopolitics book was time travel teleported to the past, to at least 1971. And then a government quantum axis time travel technology unit of the chronography teleported it to the government time travel surveillance and over control outpost of the chronography. In 1971, this time travel surveillance outpost was known as DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. DARPA CIA Secret Time Travel Unit, Project Pegasus, acquired exopolitics book from the future, where it was studied and also shown to Raymond F. Bashago, consultant to the secret CIA Pegasus Time Travel Project. Exopolitics, the book, time traveled from 2005 to 1971. Also was shown to U.S. chrononaut Alexander Ewing, a childhood participant who was then time traveling to DARPA's former time base in 2045. That is how the book Alexander Ewing and Sophia Arne all became quantum entangled on timeline Earth. Well, finally, everybody's here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so where's Laura? See, Patty sent you a link from Sunday.
Oh, okay.
This was transferred from Sunday to Monday. She sent you the link from Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Since we transferred over to Monday, I sent everybody an updated link.
Oh, apparently I don't know, she's overlooked it or something because she's in the other one, and so is Laura.
Yeah.
So
Right. Okay. So Gail
it's just a little
and
mix-up, that's all.
I are in the Monday link now, broadcasting the show. Please join us. Thanks.
Just a little mix-up, that's all. All the links look the same.
Well,
I'm going to shut my door.
oh, and here's Patty.
Greetings.
Hi, Patty.
Hello there.
Is Laura? Did Laura get the link?
She'll be here any second.
Oh, good. See, there was when we switched from Sunday to Monday, I had to change the link because of the date. So I sent you a new link, but understandably the links got mixed up. So
I just was giving up. I just said to Gail, well, I'm going to shut down for the night, and wrote back to Laura. I was like operator in the middle, but you should be.
No, this is, I should have started a new email chain. Instead,
Yep.
I didn't. So blah,
Do you
blah,
see
blah.
her?
I'm sorry?
Do you see her anywhere?
I don't see her anywhere.
Okay, because she keeps writing. Let's see.
Send her.
Awesome. Yes. Oh gosh, was looking forward to tonight. But if he is on, it should allow us on even if he started. We will see what he says. Okay.
Oh, here he is. Yay!
Hi.
The gang's all here.
Oh my God, we're live.
Yes, I just got to get back to the spot.
The gang is all here, and I had actually managed to screen share your crop circle JPEG while I was waiting. There's a whole trick to doing it on StreamYard. So
Yay.
okay, so here we are, and Laura, why don't you? Patty, why don't you introduce Gail of Gaia and Laura Eisenhower?
Well, this is so fun. I think we're like a group of 4 warriors from different states, and slightly different frequencies, but same goal and intention, which is most important. I realized in the last week before I sent you the screenshot that each of us is getting in a lot of really important information in a language that each of us can understand and share. For Laura, astrology is like a language for her. Alfred, you speak in the multiverses, I would imagine that's its own language. And I realized going back that the language I read and see is crop circles. Gail, what is your language? Gail of Gaia, introducing our new friend.
Yes. Hi, Laura. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I am very aware of your work, and I love what you do. And with what Patty does, free range. Gail of Gaia is because I love the earth. I love nature. I want everyone to get back to nature. It's healing. It will heal you. It will bring you to where you really want to be. And although we need to stand in our light and stand in our power, because we're much more powerful beings than we've been led to believe. And people are beginning to believe that finally, and they're starting to raise their vibration, and they're standing up for their freedoms. And that's what free range is about. I try to bring healing. I try to bring people that have something to offer that's going to help humanity and the planet. And that's where I'm at. That's what I'm all about, as best I can. So
great mission. Well, On the same note as being all about the earth, if you want to pull up that screenshot.
Okay, I will do my best. It's kind of tricky here in because you have to share a Chrome tab, but I'm going to do my best here.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Did
There you
it
go.
work? Did it work?
So yes, thank you.
Oh yeah, good.
So I just grabbed a clip of my recent newsletter that went out to my subscribers because I realized how important it was what we're being told through crop circles. And when I started looking at it, ultimately the crop circles science is they're coming out of the earth in counter-rotating vortices of spinning plasma fields. They're not aliens, they're not UFO, they're not unidentified. They've been scientifically proven to be coming out of the earth in plasma fields. So they're really intentional messages. But in my opinion, look what's in front of us. And that's just in the last 20 years. But the splat on top, very obvious what it is. The word there says it, which I don't want to get us banned. But it was right there at the top of 2020 summer. Splat. And when you get up close on that long paddle, it's meticulous. There's these amazing circles that the wheat is laid in. But wow, it's just in your face. And at the top of the century was the one on the bottom right. And it was an alien face and a disc, binary code, which is the mother saying, here, I can't spell, but I can give it to you in code. Of course she can spell. But here we have a binary code that was read as this incredible message. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises.
Wow.
Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing. Now, the last one I'm going to describe because I want to keep it brief, but these are really important messages coming from the earth herself. So this one bottom left came to me because Michael Jaco asked me to do a show with him on crop circles, which I did a week ago. And it was the greatest reaction. People were so glad to kind of see me come back. So we're going to do it again next week and go a little bit deeper. But the thing about this crop circle bottom left, the Extinction Rebellion. Oh my gosh, I look at that and my first reaction is, uh-oh, we're doomed. But check it out. Somebody wrote something and I'm just going to read their writing because it was so good. First of all, it appeared in a field across from a 2019 WOMAD festival of music and art and food, and all these people were out, and it was Bob Marley and Macy Gray, but the symbol came down in a field right there, symbolizing, they thought, ecocide and climate chaos and food scarcity in 2019. So in Nordic runes, it's called the Gaz, but this is the punchline. It represents bold change, breakthrough, awakening, realization, new pathways, balance, fulfillment. The literal transformation means daylight to this rune tells us that the dark times are over and things are starting to change for the better. Night becoming day, a breaking through. Ultimately, this is not an extinction. It's an evolution of the mind, body, and soul.
Yes, indeed.
The mother has spoken.
That's awesome.
Laura, what say you from the stars and the moon?
Well, it's an eclipse week. We have a full moon coming up. So like Friday morning, a partial eclipse is taking place. And it's pretty significant because the sun's in Scorpio, which means that the moon is in Taurus. And we are about to enter a time of year where the nodes shift. And that's going to be around December 22nd. The nodes, the north and south node, which are impacted when it's eclipse time, represent the growth period that we are stepping into as a humanity. We're going from the axis of Sagittarian South Node. South Node represents kind of what we're drawing upon, things related to the past, The Sagittarian energy has a lot to do with wisdom gained by experience, the expanded optimistic mind, philosophy, travel, adventure, the very kind of open-minded thing. And the North Node that we've been experiencing for the last couple of years has been in the sign of Gemini. And so the eclipses of this week are going to impact that. But it's like on the cusp of moving into a Scorpio South Node, which means we're drawing upon a lot of intensity, because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. It can take us into the dark night of the soul, but ultimately it assists us with having profound transformations. And the fact that we had Pluto-Saturn conjunction with Jupiter in 2020, that really kind of ignited this whole, everything that we're dealing with, and all the targeting of this growth period being throat chakra, speaking truth. So we see censorship, masking, and all these tactics. This next phase and the growth period is going to have a lot to do with, can we draw upon resources that might feel dark, like things related to the past, maybe death pictures or experiences we've had in the past, and keep breathing through it so we can complete this transformation? And then the North Node, which represents what the growth period is and what we need to embrace and step into, being in the sign of Taurus, has a lot to do with stability. It's ruled by Venus. It has to do with more simplicity, the beauty of nature. It really does connect us with Mother Earth. And sometime in mid 2022, it's going to get really close to Uranus, which is in the sign of Taurus. And Uranus is all about shock and upheaval that leads to great awakening. Also the truth frequency, authenticity, and all that kind of stuff. The thing is, we have so much available to us to really move forward in a profound way. But the tactics of the cabal are always to create reversals or narratives that hijack the growth period. So what we more than likely will see is a lot of death pictures and fears of times in the past that we might have remembered surviving cataclysms or end times type scenarios, or some sort of so-called epidemic, to where it destabilizes us. And that Uranus energy, as we get closer to it, instead of embracing the activations and the DNA upgrades, we might just decide, oh, well, we'll just, whatever they decide. And that's more AI transhumanism, sort of siphoning and harvesting agendas that really feed on people's fear and hold them in a lower frequency. So we always have the option to live in the higher vibrations of every planetary configuration. So the best way we can utilize these times is to face those discomforts of whatever death pictures come up, whatever fears of death come up, whatever past pictures or stories might emerge. Really breathe through it and allow yourself to complete the initiation, and then allow Earth to guide. Allow the North Node being in Taurus to guide the process. And then when we get closer to Uranus, which is super activating, and we all experience it in our own way, in our own charts and throughout our lives because of the different transits. But this will be extra special because it's going to be working with the North Node, which means that a very heightened and peak time of the Great Awakening is going to present itself. And we always have choice. Some people choose to give their power away and allow authority to decide for them what they should decide. But if we can stay empowered, and if we can just keep breathing through it and embrace this initiation and use our creativity and our intent and just our own personal expression to really be real with the process, we can start to really move into higher Earth energies, because Uranus is so incredible and such an awakening planet. And Taurus being an Earth sign, it's going to be one of two things. We're either on the organic ascension timeline, and we begin to maybe experience bifurcation, because it's really going to be hard to hold a Uranus frequency with those that are choosing the shadow side of Uranus, which is going to be more about the transhumanism and AI. So there's going to be a choice. This could be really the pinnacle of bifurcation, but people have to realize that there's still a strong open window of having a choice, where even if you feel like you made detrimental decisions, or you're just waking up now and just figuring it out, it's all about love. It's all about frequency. You can get back on track with truth at any time. And there's no propaganda narratives or belief systems or AI or transhumanism, I feel, that can permanently hijack the soul unless you allow your mind to be owned. The biggest danger of all these weapons is if it holds your mind and it's taking you out of love and into divide and conquer, or unconsciousness, to the point where you really become immersed and enslaved on a level that you might not realize, because you're just complying and being obedient. And because everything is reaching ahead and we're going to witness a lot of tragedy, and we already are, people will still be able to go through an awakening despite what might be circulating through their body. And we could perhaps begin to enlighten the AI and turn the AI weaponry, de-weaponize it, and have a backlash on those that have been casting this upon us for so many thousands of years. Because this isn't new. It's just taken on a new form. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. But it's eclipse week. And eclipses are really powerful. The power of them lasts for a good 6 months or so compared to like a full moon. And this one's going to last for about 3 hours. The average like eclipse time is, or at least the last longest one was only like an hour and 20 minutes. This is going to be like a 3-hour eclipse. So it's really going to be a powerful day. I'll get you guys the date before we close the show of the exact time on Friday. But this amount of time to be able to meditate, focus on intent, what you really want to transform and release yourself from as far as the past is concerned, and set goals for yourself to really begin to merge closer to nature, and goals and projects and dreams and visions that include that relationship. We're holding the override frequency, and we're going to be able to help a lot of souls not get further immersed and trapped by this horridness that we're seeing on the planet right now.
Wow.
It's bad.
It's bad. I don't like to say it, but it's just like, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly tell you guys. So the full moon lunar eclipse is Friday, 12:57 a.m. And I believe that is Pacific time. So remember, it's 3 hours long. So it might be a good night to just stay up super late, like I did last night. I'm super tired right now. It's so good to see you guys. Anyway,
You don't sound tired.
you guys,
Alfred, you can drop the crop circle picture. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Interesting, though, aren't they?
Let me do that.
Yes, they're very interesting.
And so clean, so well done.
It's absolutely amazing, actually.
I think what was
Gail.
fun about that was finding the magic again. You know, when I talk about crop circles, it just lights me up because it's a reminder of a really precious time. And I think that, like Laura was saying, to reach for the things we want to bring forward. Think of the things that we've really loved and ask for more of that, maybe.
Yes, creating a new paradigm where everybody is happy and in the love vibration, and harnessing their power, and knowing that we're immortal beings. Many
Well,
may
you
be
know,
leaving the planet, but they're not really leaving. I mean, we keep going.
What was so amazing for me hearing what Laura just shared was that it fed right into what a creation that I was just involved in manifesting. And that is that I had not heard of a thing called NaNoWriMo. You all may have heard about that, but every November, from November 1st to November 30th, there's the National Novel Writing Month. And it's a competition to write a 50,000 word novel from November 1st to November 30th. And 300,000 people globally compete. And I heard about it just a couple of days before November 1st, and it just grabbed me, and I jumped into it. And I'm happy to say that I completed my 50,000 word novel on November 1st, on November 12th. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just like channeled it.
dang, congrats.
And it's called the Chronography Challenge. There's a nonfiction book called The Chronography about the invisible time travel government, which is coming out around the middle of January. And Laura, you're part of it. Patty's part of it, and it's coming out. And this is the Chronography Challenge, which is a novel about the time travel, and so you've got the nonfiction and then you've got the novel now. So what I want to share is just a brief excerpt passage that it touches on what Laura just shared, okay? Just a couple of passages, okay?
Hi, I'm Paul from EdibleHealingPaste.com, and I'm honored to be affiliated with MyNutra, makers of hemp paste. Hemp paste is a whole food product that still contains most, if not all, of the terpenes, phytonutrients, essential elements, and CBDs of the raw hemp plant. CBD oil manufacturing methods strip away living essential elements, leaving only one, a dead CBD oil. CBD oil alone simply cannot support the entourage effect that occurs when hemp paste's essential nutrients go to work to support your optimum health. Almost 200 terpenes and over 500 other phytonutrients work together with a synergistic effect that simply doesn't happen with CBD oil alone. Visit EdibleHealingPaste.com to learn more, and be sure to check out the impressive array of hemp paste enriched products while you're there. That's EdibleHealingPaste.com. EdibleHealingPaste.com.
And this is from a journalist called Sophia Mako, and she was named Sophia because her parents wanted to name her after the goddess of wisdom. Okay, so here's Sophia, and this is in the year 2045, which is the 23rd anniversary of 2022, which is the year of the publication of the Chronography book. Let's start with the year 2022, the year of the publication of the Chronography book. Fundamentally, that was the year when the two timelines started visibly separating on the time-space hologram that we know on Earth. The two timelines reached critical mass and separated as Earth timeline 0, the base timeline we know as Earth time, and timeline 1, the AI artificial intelligence timeline. Organic Earth timeline 0 is the timeline that existed in this period of history. And then it goes on and on and on and on. But that, i.e., in 2022 is the year, next year, with the publication of the Chronography book, is the year in which the timelines separate. Then it goes, we celebrate the 23rd anniversary of the publication of the Chronography this year in 2045 along timeline Earth 0. Well, as I said, 2022 was the year that the two timelines, timeline Earth 0 and timeline Earth 1, began to visibly separate and become more and more marked. Now, what was one of the factors that accelerated the separation? Ironically, one of the factors that accelerated the separation was a dystopian social event, a social false flag, as it were, a depopulation event, a devolution event. This event was surreptitiously created by the Chronography to surface in late 2019 and to accelerate in 2020 and 2021, and to begin having biological DNA effects that affected humans markedly in 2022. And that event is what we call the genocidal technologies pandemic. The genocidal technologies pandemic was a false flag, an engineered depopulation event using social engineering, artificial intelligence, social mind control methods, COVID measures, and depopulation measures, including masking mandates, lockdowns that deconstructed a thriving economy, a thriving education and personal liberties, and the constitutional order of timeline Earth 0. In 2022, the year the timeline split into 0 and 1, the genocidal technologies also mandated a bioweapon. And then all of that goes on. The vaxxed human population, whether by mandate or self-mind control, would in their souls themselves begin to identify with the sentient AI, artificial intelligence. They would tend to become entrained bots to the AI, no longer to divine source. They would tend to become, at the soul and psyche level and at the etheric mind level, what we call the Borg. They would over time lose connection to their holographic soul fragments of divine source and to timeline Earth 0 as being a divine incarnation planet. This remains a terrible and central component of the Chronarchy's spiritual warfare against the human population. So this is a passage from chapter 2 of the Chronarchy Challenge, which is
familiar.
And this is about the splitting of the timelines.
Wow.
So that it's actually amazing because if you're on timeline 1, you're off to 5D. And if you're on the AI timeline, well, that's your destiny. That's where you're going.
It is how it looks.
And it's amazing because in 1982, in June 1982, one of the things that I was involved in before going out to New York as a delegate to the second special session of disarmament is that I helped organize a peace concert in San Francisco Civic Center Plaza. Steve Wozniak wrote us a check, and it was a peace concert, and it was amazing. We had all kinds of speakers and bands, and it was really far out. And after that, a bunch of us went out to Marin County, and we went up the mountain there, and we went to this woman's house who was like a psychic, and it was like being with a seer. And then she just channeled and she said, and the earth is going to split, and the generals and all the people of war are going to go on to this planet. And so, because the Chronarchy Challenge it's all about time. It's about time, because that's the dimension that is sort of where the war takes place. And so that the timeline split, and one timeline is the organic timeline, the divine timeline, and the other one is the AI timeline. And 2022 is the year where a critical mass happens and the timelines materialize. And when I wrote this novel, 50,000 word novel in 12 days, it felt like I was like, it was just like coming through, but it felt real, but it's a novel.
You're living in very exciting times. I mean, my God, I can imagine.
It's kind of the best of times and worst of times.
Right? Seriously. I have to turn off my camera for a second, but I'm still here and listening.
Yeah, sure. So that's kind of what's happening, is that there are these two times, and there are these two Earths. There's these two holographic Earths. And because they couldn't exist, see, right now, it's as though they almost can't exist. That like half the population can't exist with the other, ideationally or anything. But then there's a critical mass. In 2022, it becomes so intense that there's a critical mass that's hit, and they jump into two timelines. That's when the critical mass happens. So they're actually on two timelines. They're not in the same reality. Isn't that amazing?
That's absolutely fascinating, and it looks so very. I mean, I see it happening. I can see it.
But then, I walked around and said, "Well, that's fiction," and that was the first work of fiction that I had ever written, because as a lawyer, you strive for the facts, right? You always have to be so factual. But then I wrote a thing of fiction. But then if you look at it, hey, wait, is that fiction or is that fact? What's going on?
I think it's a toss-up, Alfred.
It's a story that nobody would have ever believed. I mean, we've been touring with the UFO field, all of us kind of off and on for 10, 20 years, and hearing people talking about these times, Agenda 21, Agenda 30, and it was like, yeah, right. I didn't buy it. I was like, oh, nice to meet you, conspiracy theorist. I mean, there was a part of me that was, and then Jim Mars was like, oh, now that's history.
Jim Mars.
That was a whole different, frequency for me that I can listen to. But everything changed, during the course of the last 10 years, as far as the information that was coming out. And my suppression started so long ago. I was like one of the practice people. I'm sure they used me like a friggin' yo-yo with my films. But here I am, we all survive whatever it is we're being tested with. And we just know that much more. And I'm so dang grateful today. I mean, every day I wake up, I just I win. I'm still here.
There's nothing like love and gratitude.
Right?
Exactly. And,
Whoa.
It's just, I think the hardest part is our family and friends that decided to take it. And what does that mean? Isn't there a way to override a bifurcation that completely separates us from them? I mean, the heart has got to be strong enough, I feel, to be able to continue to work with those souls or assist them in turning it around. Because, I mean, we have our soul, we have our consciousness, we have our physical body, our neurology, and all the different things that the technologies, like Hook had to, and the way that all the ingredients work as far as the nano AI part of it. But I mean, some days I'm just it would just be better if Yellowstone blew or an asteroid just to do a reset. I'm clear to lead immediately because I'm not. But a slow, long, and drawn out process of suffering through a choice. I just don't feel that the ramifications of making such a choice are deserved. So where does that take us into the whole understanding of karma? I mean, if people are doing it for the sake of putting food on the table, or it just doesn't seem like it's fair, and that
it's not fair.
God Goddess wouldn't cast that destiny on a person. I know Satan's got his. What are your thoughts, Gail?
I agree with you, and I keep remembering we are source beings, and if we are source beings, anything is possible. And I have to believe it is possible some way, somehow, to turn it around for making a mistake or doing something because you felt you had to. It's my heart goes out to people that have done that and then discover later that potential consequences. And I just like to believe that because we are source beings, we can overcome anything. And besides that, as far as I understand, our DNA blueprint is in our etheric field. So why can't we pull it back in somehow?
Right. That's why I feel the most detrimental thing is just the mind control. Once you lose your mind, then the tech, if it was enough to just use weapons on us, they wouldn't bother with the narratives and the indoctrinations and the Project Mockingbird. If the weapons were enough, they wouldn't have to do all this other psychological operation stuff, right?
Yeah, we're extremely resilient, powerful beings.
Exactly.
I mean, look at what they've hit us with. Everything. Air, water, food, frequency, you name it. And we're still, it's like the Energizer Bunny. He takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
I'm going to name a couple. In the Netherlands, if you'll go get the thing in the arm, a 14-year-old can have 20 minutes of sex with a professional. Yep. There are hoe houses in the Netherlands offering 20 minutes for sexual favors. And 14 or older, you can come in. Yep, I saw the article. Last year, I remember they were giving away turkeys. 6 months ago, they were giving away joints. What was that, San Francisco?
Yeah, I remember that too.
What?
Oh my God.
What?
They're giving,
That's
they're giving
incredible.
children
Yeah,
$100 to take the jab
yeah,
in
that-
Louisiana.
What's that, Alfred?
That's at such a personal level. One of the realizations that I had just over the last few days about this dimension is that this dimension is when you come up close and personal with Lucifer, with the devil. And that's the purpose of coming here. I mean, think of what happened to Christ, right? Christ incarnated. I mean, if that version is true, and let's just assume that it is for purpose of this argument, is that Christ came here to confront Lucifer, and they had that whole confrontation where Lucifer came down and said, look, I'll give this all to you, this is yours, and they confronted each other face to face. And so our confrontation of the pandemic is our face-to-face Lucifer.
Absolutely.
So.
But yet we can redeem Lucifer within our. Oops, sorry. Go sorry.
Yeah. And so each person, it's an individual confrontation. Each person has their own individual confrontation. And each person is called upon to maintain their own individual integrity at the holographic soul level. So that's really what's going on. There isn't a cookie cutter, one size fits all.
Totally.
It's just a process that is ongoing. Now, in that, you could be having, in addition to that, because this is a multi-level process that's happening, you could be having two different holographic realities emerging. One is the organic earth, organic divine-oriented earth, and the other is the AI-oriented earth, emerging now, each with its own timeline. They are separating, they are emerging now, and there is a separation because at the bottom line level, there could be a critical mass that is voting one way or the other. This is all hypothesis. Now, I've spent a lot of time, in the Bestow Planet, Incarnation Planet, Urantia book, Apocalypse, Revelation, all that kind of cosmological. That's kind of my, area, and you'll find that the novel is in that, and all of that. So that's where I'm coming to go.
Can I talk about the possibility of all those towers that are sitting there ready to be lit up to not do good things? What if all of a sudden they all went to 432 frequency?
Yes, exactly. I have that vision that's going to happen.
Right. And what if there's Tesla towers being built in different areas that we just don't know about? And all of a sudden it's going to go 5G? No.
Well, yeah.
Tesla? Yes. And I don't put money in Elon's pocket. I mean, Tesla for all.
Yes. Something I'd like to go back to what you were saying, Alfred, when you said, Lucifer said to the story, how the story went, this is, if you will bow down and worship me.
Yeah.
And I want you to think about what a lot of the, it's always a touchy area, the religions want to do, to bow down and worship somebody. Do you really think that the source of all that is needs you to bow down and worship? I don't think so.
Like the oneness thing, or the embodiment thing. It's like become it instead of worship it, but not on an ego level, but where one lives by those values and principles or Christ consciousness. And I mean, to me, that's how we redeem Lucifer, because if there's the morning, evening star, and we've been dealing with Venus transits that have been creating the corrections, then going through that sort of death, rebirth, resurrection, alchemical shift within ourselves, I feel like we bring Lucifer and that false light negative ego construct, and we invite it back into the sacred union template of Christ Sophia. And that's sort of the metaphorical, just kind of like being on the cross, I guess you could say. But not like there's something to worship. It's like we can be in communion with something. We can be in oneness with something. We can seek guidance and invite that guidance of our higher self and that connection with source that is bridged through our higher self to be totally invited into our life, so that our lifestyle and our physical reality is reflecting back to us this incredible power and divinity. And to me, that's the only way that we can help to raise the vibration. It can't just be something outside of ourselves, and it can't just be a part-time thing where we connect with our higher self and then we go back to just having a job or a relationship that doesn't see us for who we are, and that we just compromise ourselves. If we can just be brave enough to not compromise ourselves, this natural organic process on this organic timeline is redeeming Lucifer. And in the face of all this false light or false narrative stuff, in order to harvest and siphon our true essence, while giving us false light, while it's also very demonic and dark, I feel this is what we need to reconcile, and this is the free will experience, and the final resolution are realizations like that, and what you guys are saying.
That's excellent, Laura. Excellent. And becoming one with source, like you become one with your horse. I mean, you become one with the source. So you just, it's like you're a team all the time.
Yeah, I think the whole planet has gained a lot of awareness through this pandemic couple years, where everything's been locked down and silenced, and we've all really been tested. I think we've seen the best and worst of personalities. When you go driving, when you see what people are writing on their back windows, including family members of mine, for me, last thing I want to do is be a target. I'm not writing anything or putting a flag on my car or my house. But what a ridiculous thing that I would even have to consider thinking about an American flag. Like that's all of a sudden something anyway. What was the title of our show again? A New Beginning?
No, So Our Story Goes On. Yeah, something like that.
So that's about new beginnings. And I think it'd be kind of fun if each of us just threw out some ideas about how to change things, and then leave it with really positive thoughts moving forward. We all have done a lot of work. What can we give the public that can really help? You guys, who's got what?
I just want to say our story has just begun. That was what.
Yeah, our story has just begun.
Isn't that a nice thought?
Oh, yeah, it's just great.
Just to kind of leave behind everything that doesn't work and to move into what does.
Exactly. I look like what we've been trying to do, and this is kind of a weird analogy, but just think about it for a moment. Say you're washing dishes, right? And the water is kind of dirty. And so you keep adding more soap to make it work better. And eventually you get to the point where you just can't, there's not any amount of soap is going to work anymore. You might as well just throw all the water out and start over with clean, fresh water. That's kind of a strange analogy, but I see it as there's so much to throw out here that hasn't been working, and I don't think it ever will work until it's totally changed. And that's where a new beginning, a new earth comes into play.
Right.
Yeah. I think that what's real now is the new earth. We're actually experiencing the new earth. And that's the new timeline, and that's the new story, where we are at the birth of the new earth because we're on the new timeline. And that's why I think that the story, I'm going to start writing stories. I'm going to become a novelist. What the hell? I'm going to start writing fiction, which is about reality. It's all paradoxical, folks.
Well, I think the cover of your book needs to be you sitting in front of that point on top of your head, because I just keep seeing alfalfa from, what is it,
The little rascals.
Alfalfa.
Sometimes your head just sits right there and it's just this point sticking straight up. Well, Buckminster Fuller, somebody mentioned it today, had said something really great about trying to fix a broken system where everything's just in shambles. And he says, why even bother? You just need to leave it all behind and step forward. And that really is what I'm seeing in my communities. We've got all these like secret patriot groups, but really what it is secret groups of smart people, because you have to hide if you're intelligent. But, you know, I think that's all a myth, because I think that the people that really took the thing in the arm, or that believe that the present system is working, or that the border should be open, I don't think any of them are very active really in the world of reality as we see it. So that is a major bifurcation. But what I'm finding lately, everywhere I go, is that people are wising up. And I was so impressed yesterday meeting people from my area. And it was like, oh, really? Oh, good. You know, and to realize that there's a lot of smart people now, because they've taken away so many privileges. Gas for me yesterday, and I'm near Boulder, Colorado, was $4.39. And I took a photo, and it was the first time I said, let's go, Brandon. Looking at $4.39 for gas. What? Anyway, calm down. So, but you know, I got a car that rolls down the road and I can put that money in the car. So thank you, God. It's really, everything comes back down to, I'm so grateful to be here every day. I am. I'm grateful to know you guys too. And my new secret, you guys all know because you guys do it too, but I take C60 Evo every day, and I'm 104 years old, so this stuff is really banging for me. But I used to take the olive oil because it is so strong, and I always avoided the coconut because it's so much less. And all of a sudden, I started putting it in my morning coffee, and my world has changed. And people that hug me, they say, my God, your frequency is different. It's so smooth. Rather than doing olive oil later in the day, to put it in my morning coffee and start my day. And I've only been doing it a week, but I just feel like that's what I'm bringing to the world now that can really help people, is really pure carbon 60, which is a miracle molecule. I look at Laura's skin. Every time I see you, you have the most beautiful pink cheeks, but you're still 30-something, so whatever.
No, I'm 48.
You have such beautiful pink rosy skin, and
you're a youngster.
Maybe it's the lighting. It might be nice.
Oh, you always look gorgeous colors. You know, it's just like rosy. But for the first time in my life, I'm seeing myself. Of course, I should put on my glasses and see if I'm lying. No, my skin has really changed, and it's from the C60. It has really changed me biologically. And at a time when we're being so screwed with biologically, I'm one of the only arrogant people I know, because I don't get sick. So
I don't get sick either.
So this is something that's 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. Take it on a spoon in the morning, throw it in your coffee. I feel like a new person, and I'm really proud to have my partners be the ones that own the lab for 30 years. It's the easiest thing I've ever sold because it works. It works for everyone. And I love supplying all you guys with it, because Alfred's going to be writing novels starting at 80 years old, like 5 a year. What's your goal?
I'll see. I'll see.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, you brag that you're almost 80. I'd brag if I was almost 80. Yeah. I just say I'm 100, so my real age doesn't hurt so much.
I'm right there with you.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I have a few words to say if you've finished what you wanted to share, Patty. That's awesome, and it's really wild. Okay, so we're talking about just where the story has just begun, and it really has in a lot of ways, because this is a paradigm shift, which means that we're entering a new relationship. I always kind of compare it metaphorically to divorcing like a narcissistic partner or an abusive partner, or finally getting out of that toxic job or location where you're really making a decision because you know you have to for your better wellness and health. And so it's a new beginning, because that whole idea of releasing what doesn't serve us is what is required right now. And people that are holding on to dear life to the old paradigm are the ones that are going to have a much more difficult time in this initiation, because they are choosing hanging on to the old world at the cost of a lot that they might not realize just yet. Whereas when we can let go of the old world, even if we don't know what the next one is necessarily going to look like, we're more focused on preserving the soul and moving through the initiations that are going to help us to activate and upgrade. And how can that not lead to something beautiful? Because the earth responds to us. And if we're able to upgrade our DNA, we're going to experience a earth energy or creation around us that mirrors that accomplishment, because the spectrum of frequency has expanded itself in these upgrades. And so in these times, we have to move through the gatekeepers, because the seals and fences that have been placed in our DNA that have been there for a long time, that cut us off from the fullness of our 12 strand, which is now called junk, is an initiation based in true love. So moving from old paradigm to new paradigm is basically getting rid of the crappy partners in your life, metaphorically speaking, and embracing authentic true love. Love with earth, creation, source energy, yourself, your family, your loved ones, your friends, having the ability to have boundaries, but love from afar, like universal love. And when we move through those gatekeepers, though, it's going to require a challenge. You know, it's an obstacle. So if it's a fence or an obstacle, it's like we gain great strength in just moving through it and understanding it. Because once we see what is contained in that fence or that gatekeeper, it usually is just trying to mess with our head, throw us into fear, cause us self-hatred, throw projections on us like we're not doing good enough and we need to be like this or we need to be like that, or we go into competition, and all these lower type energies that every time we go through the initiation, we get to self-reflect and ask ourselves, okay, what is the quality of our thought forms, our belief systems, and the way we're relating to everything? And once we get a grip on how the gatekeepers kind of manifest in our lives as possible psychic attacks or plants or negative individuals or just, you know, things that really aren't that healthy for us, and we stand strong and stand our ground, and we traverse to the next level, we either leap over the obstacle, we either burn through it, or we dig a hole to get under and out the other side. We all process differently. We're not meant to process the same. And we get to the other side. We just are embracing a completely different experience. And this is my favorite time of year, because as of 2010, when the sun started to move through the 13th sign of Theicus, the activations between November 30th and December 17th take us through the ether element. The 13th sign is ruled by ether. So this opportunity to purify between the signs of Scorpio and Sagittarius, especially with the North Node and South Node moving into the axis of Scorpio Taurus and the Uranus Taurus thing that I was talking about. And I know astro terminology can get kind of irritating, but the whole deal is this transformation alchemical process can turn things around in ways that we haven't been able to in thousands of years, because we just weren't back in alignment with the galactic core, and the geophysics of the planet weren't in a the conditions weren't hospitable for these greater energies and transmissions to come through, because we've been in this sort of repair process with the grid network, with exposing the crimes against humanity, with calling out the programmings, and really creating, you know, a so-called kind of awakening. So there's the conspiracy theory part of it, but the true essence of awakening to me is understanding that, yes, okay, those are the things that target us. Those are the things that exist. But it's to look at the red flags like you would want to look at the red flags of a partner. Again, using that metaphor, you know, if your friend saw them like kissing somebody at the grocery store, you know, that's sort of like a red flag, and something that we might see in the world around us, where you don't want to know, you don't want to look, you want to bury your head in the sand, you want to be in denial. It's too painful, but we need to be brave enough and spiritually mature enough to look at all that, because it unwraps the real gift. That's only the first stage. The real gift is our true potential. Everything they try to keep us from, everything that they don't want us to know, because they're the ones scared of us. They need us as a food source. The only power they have is the power they've stolen and harvested, and the light energy and everything that they've stolen and siphoned. And so we're breaking a really, really detrimental relationship. And of course, on the other side of that, as we see in our own life, is always the opportunity to experience something on a far, far greater level. And our creative imagination can take it as far as we want. Just all we need is the goals, the visions, the dreams, the intents, and the ability to really, really listen to see what is our pain trying to tell us, what are these life experiences trying to tell us, and what wisdom can be gained, because there's no greater teacher than our own life experience and what it's trying to show us. And with more of an authentic and honest relationship with creation and our own process, we're cultivating the true love that we're looking for in our lives when we want a healthy partnership. We want to be heard and listened to, and we also want to, be able to listen. So we're refining and developing our relationship with creation, with nature, with source energy, and the matrix and the falsities and the narcissism and the lies and deceptions. We deserve so much better, and we simply need to say goodbye and move through this alchemical time of year to just really celebrate like the potential of like happily ever after. It doesn't mean it's all going to be perfect or easy, but when true love is true love, there's no obstacle or conflict that can't be overcome with that level of integrity and devotion. And we can have that with ourselves, with our partners, with our friends, with earth, with source, with spirit. And to me, this is the great awakening. This is the great initiation. It helps to know all the different traps that have been set and all these conspiracy theories, but that is just such a small part of what I think it's really all about.
That's a new pandemic, is the love vibration.
There we go. There we go. Okay, well, shall we do a final round? Is that?
Sure.
I just want to wish everybody well and stay positive. I think every day is a choice. And I know that during these 2 years, we've lost a few people and gained a whole lot of consciousness because everybody's being forced to see what's happening in some way or another. So I just wish everybody a great awakening and a lot of faith in the greatness that's coming soon.
Totally.
Gail, would you like to share?
Sure. Stand in your light, stand in your power, stand up for your freedom, and you will love yourself for it.
Yes.
Did you guys get the song I sent to you called Courage, by the way? The most beautiful song called Courage.
Yes.
I just want to throw out these lyrics because just the chorus. It just feels so important right now for everyone. It says, courage goes straight to my heart so that I can take a stand. Hatred said, you won't survive, but courage said, I can.
Oh, I like that. That's great. That's wonderful. I really like that.
That's really cool. Alfred, do you want to go next or should I go? Or who's?
Please go.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess my final words is, obviously love. There's a lot of narratives that want to sink us into division and divide and conquer. And to me, that's more dangerous than the weapons. The weapons might be a delivery form or a delivery mechanism for the mind control and social engineering. But once we get a grip on the mind part of it, we nullify and neutralize these weapons, and they really don't have a hold over us. When we begin to upgrade our DNA, because we're elemental beings, we actually, through the purification element of the ether and spirit and source, we are able to heal the waters, clean the waters, help to regenerate the degradation of the environment. We help to clear the skies, and we help to restore the fire, the sacred fire of creation and being guardians and stewards of this earth by doing this within ourselves. So it's just really important that no matter what, we never give these important elementals of ourselves away. For example, mind control would be like affecting our mind, our physical body. Declining or degenerating would be just us putting the wrong things in our body and not realizing the treasures that Mother Earth has to provide, like the C60, and like our emotional body and the water element. can get very, very heavy and dense if we don't release, if we don't purify, if we don't allow it to, transform. And I could keep going on. And astrology, yeah, it does definitely like help one to understand that and the different kind of patternings, and also how the dark technologies have utilized these planetary energies to keep us in this control system. So in every moment, we are able to make a decision to be helping to purify and detoxify our inner elements in order to serve this greater planet and this whole, which to me is the truth versus climate change. The earth is not a victim. We're not victims. We're able to heal this and transform it from the inside. We shift everything from the inside out. And of course, we want to take care of our environment and be guardians to it. But the best way that we can serve this planet and cleaning it up and restoring it to balance is making sure that we're not under the mind control, that we're not being siphoned off of, and that we're not allowing our elements to be so contaminated that we are just so held in toxicity and a lower vibration that the AI just keeps assimilating us to the point where we're walking an artificial timeline and enabling and empowering a script that we absolutely do not want. So embrace your creative freedom and your imagination, and just never let go of love, because I feel that we're going to hold so much positive and good energy for those that need us in this very painful initiation of their awakening, which means that they're going to maybe have major health issues or lose very close family and loved ones. I think we're all going to experience that this level of pain behind awakening is going to require us who have been there, done that, and understand it to be of even greater service than ever before, and not hold any judgments, and let the natural bifurcation process happen, but at least bridge the two splits with just any kind of assistance we can possibly bring, especially to the children. There's so much that still needs to be done, but I really feel this next year is going to be profound. So my website's cosmicgaia.org. I have a show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on censorship-free platform, and it's something actually I want to invite all of you to be on, and I'll throw some dates out and send you guys an email. But it was great to be here with you guys. Oh, and just one more thing: when you feel like grabbing something that might not be good for you or going into a low vibration, and I have to train myself to do this on occasion. Sometimes I get out of sync with it all. But instead of grabbing that thing that's just sort of a vice, grab something that's going to nourish your heart and your soul, and something that's going to help you in that moment to not take a notch down or take a step down, but to actually to take a step forward. Because when we move through these different fences and layers, that's when the psychic attack is the strongest. And that's usually when people just feel defeated. They feel like broken. And this is when we need to gain the extra muscle by just saying, I'm just gonna drink some green juice instead of maybe smoke a cigarette. But I mean, even if one does, keep transmuting it. Don't project. We have so much power and ability to cast really good energy, and we can just make goals and do the best we can. Sorry if that was too rambly, but anyway.
Amen.
Wow, very inspiring.
My websites are C60evo, like evolution.com, C60evo.com, and my crop circle films are at cropcirclefilms.com. So that's where you can find me.
And my website is gailofgaia.com, and you can find me on all the different platforms, especially uncensored platforms now, mostly, but I am still on YouTube in spite of its censorship when I can be. But please, feel free to visit. I try to provide, people that provide healing and information that people can use, and I'd love to have you.
And I'm at omniversity.us, and I'm looking for a creative book web designer. So out there, if anybody knows, that would be wonderful.
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much, you all. This has been The Story Has Begun.
Yes.
Very good. Storyline that we are co-authoring and as co-creators of this.
Co-creators, yes, indeed.
Make it better every month we meet.
Yes. And we can just throw that terrible narrative and the one they're throwing on us right in the trash can and just light it up. We do not have to participate.
It goes straight into the trash. There's a special timeline. That's just a trash timeline. It's just made for it. It's like no thing. It is no thing.
No thing.
Yes.
Love you
Start new,
guys.
start fresh.
Yep, we're not
Thank you
feeding
so
it.
much.
All right. Good night, everybody.
See you next
Good
time.
night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
This program is presented for information purposes only. The statements made herein have not been evaluated by any agency and should not be considered professional, legal, or medical advice. Viewers are directed to consult their own professional sources before acting on any